Hi, this is John with Chest Freezer Cold Plunge, and in today's video we're going to talk about several things that are important to consider as you're planning to build your chest freezer cold plunge. Thinking about these things before you start will not only save you a lot of time and money, but it'll make the entire build go a lot more smoothly. So let's jump in.
I'm going to give you some of the key details that get commonly asked or people wonder about. And if you want all of the information, if you want a step-by-step guide to help you figure out all of the details, I would encourage you to go pick up a copy of my book, The Ultimate Chest Freezer Cold Plunge DIY Guide. This has got more than 4 years worth of information of helping just countless hundreds of people build chest freezers across the globe. Best place to pick this up, you can find it on Amazon, but if you get it directly from my website, and the link is in the description below the video, you can have it as an instant PDF download and you can get started on this right away. So first of all, we want to think about your budget. What is your budget for this project? Do you have just $100 to work with? A few $100s? Do you have $1,000? $2,000? If you can figure that out in advance, that can really help you figure out how you're going to go about the cold plunge, because there's a lot of different ways to go about doing this. There are some very simple ways to get started, and there's also a lot of cool things that you can add to the process to make it a lot easier for you. So the first thing to consider is, if you have your budget, you kind of map out how much can you invest in this project. Now, if you've got just a little bit of money to spend, you can go out and buy a used chest freezer. You can pick them up on Craigslist or Facebook Marketplace, or just your local buy sell nothing or buy nothing group maybe. And if you get a used chest freezer, realize that this is a short-term, most likely a short-term project, because you never know when they're going to die. You don't know how they've been treated, how they've been abused or not, and you never really know what you're going to get. Used chest freezers could die at any moment. And I've got like a whole used chest freezers buyer's guide. You can find that on my Facebook group, Chest Freezer Cold Plunge. Just join the group. It's in the files section, and we'll go over a list of all of the things to ask and to look for before you spend any money on a used chest freezer. And that's just going to help you save money and also a lot of your own time. If you've got a larger budget, somewhere between maybe $400, $500, $600, $700, $800, $900, you can buy a brand new chest freezer. Buying a new chest freezer cuts down the number of things that you have to worry about, since you're the very first person using it. There are definitely some things to consider when you buy a new chest freezer, especially if you have it delivered, but if you have it in your budget, a new chest freezer is definitely the way to go. Now, one thing I would also say is that if you can save up, like should you buy new or used? That's a good question. If you can save to buy a new chest freezer within about 3 months, I would suggest just being patient and waiting to save up to get the new chest freezer. If it's going to take more than 3 months or maybe 4 months to save up for that, go ahead and start putting that money aside. But if you want to get started immediately, just get the used chest freezer and make it really simple for yourself. Besides your budget, the next thing you want to think about is, how long are you thinking out? Are you thinking short term, just a few months, or are you thinking long term? When people tell me something is too expensive, I like to ask 2 questions: compared to what, and over what period of time? So that very inexpensive chest freezer or setup in the beginning, short term, might actually cost you less dollars, but over the long term, having to replace it and deal with all the different problems and issues might actually be a lot more expensive. So think about what your time frame is on this, and think about what your tolerance is, your risk tolerance, and all these sort of things. So are you thinking long term or short term? Now, the next thing you want to consider is, how much maintenance are you willing to do? Do you have more of time or money? There are some very simple ways to set up a chest freezer that are inexpensive. They do require more work and more maintenance to go about it. On the most simple level, if you just want to buy a chest freezer and use it to make ice and then dump that into a stock tank, that's a very inexpensive way to get started. However, it's going to require that work of transferring the ice or the containers of ice in and out of the chest freezer, and you won't have an instant ready to go cold plunge. If you just want to fill it up with water on a very simple level and not have to deal with equipment or components or water sanitation or anything like that, you might need to change your water once every few days, or maybe once every couple of weeks. It just there's a lot of variables that go into that, and water sanitation will definitely be a future video. We will talk more about that in depth. If you want to have cold water that's ready to go at a moment's notice, and you don't want to have to do a lot of maintenance or mess with chemicals or fiddle with that, if your time is more important to you, if your time is valuable to you, and you realize that, then having a more expensive setup with all of these other equipment and components that can go into it to keep your water clean, that's going to be worth it, absolutely worth it. So those are some of the top things to consider. If you have any questions or comments, please post them below. If you like this channel or if you find it to be helpful, let's help spread the word. Please like or subscribe.